Good morning, everyone. Today I'm taking Curtis's place in Dallas. Daughter's graduating from East, I believe, in a nursing degree or something. So I'll be taking his place this first meeting. Friday, May 13th, 10 o'clock to end the meeting. I'd like to get Mr. Scott to say the prayer, Mr. Thomas to say the prayer. Please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Son, the Lord's Prayer, please. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
All right. Go to number 3, Southwest Regional Planning Commission, MCAP. You come on up to the microphone, everybody.
Good morning. I just want to thank you for the opportunity for us to present to you today. I just want to report that at the Regional Planning Commission, we have been very busy and active. We are aware of a lot of the concerns and problems and issues and needs that you have in Cameron Parish. It's been a busy time for us because, again, as you have experienced disasters on a regular basis over the last 2 years, but we are challenged and we are making progress, and some of that progress is going to be demonstrated to you today on how we can assist you in some capacity. But I wanted to report that this morning in the legislature, the Finance Committee is taking up the Louisiana Watershed Initiative. We are taking over that responsibility in the next couple of weeks from Parish. There's a great deal of resources in that program. So I wanted to report on that. I feel and our board feels that we need to get a lot more aggressive in securing funding on that program. On a parallel effort, we are initiating several major transportation initiatives throughout Southwest Louisiana. Roads, of course, play a big part of that, but also I want to tell you that in the next couple of weeks, we have signed the contracts. We are launching, uniquely, I think, to my knowledge in Louisiana, a major rail initiative. It surprises me, the interest among our parishes for rail, but we're going to give it everything we've got to deliver to you. Well, I say you, all of Southwest Louisiana, all the parishes, something as far as going ahead with within the next 2 years, some infrastructure improvements when it comes to rail. That's the objective, that's the hope, and that's what we want to cover. Also, one of the regional initiatives of our board has been in housing. It is another regional initiative has been on repeat flooding housing, disaster housing, and I think that we're going to be seeing some productivity coming out of this, particularly today. If you like what we're presenting to you, and give us a green light to pursue it, then that's going to impact you to some degree. We have created, on the staff level, and I presented this to the board, what I call the 7 spokes of the wheel. That so much of what we do, whether it's a program or it's infrastructure, is integrated. It's not just freestanding. And so if you're talking about transportation, or you're talking about drainage, or you're talking about housing, or you're talking about sewer and water, or rail, it's all integrated together. You don't singularly approach all of these items. And so that's our modus operandi, that's how we operate. And this is how we engage all of our 29 governments. And so whether it's in Beauregard Parish or Cameron Parish, we're here to assist. Please look at us as an extension of your staff. We've been working closely with Katie. I think that 2 years ago, when we started cranking this thing up, we had a staff of 4. Today we have a staff of 24. A lot of young professionals, as well as experienced retirees who bring a lot of resource and knowledge of the area to us. So with that being said, I would like to introduce Buddy Ragland. We have arrived at this proposal for your consideration from a variety of different sources, but at the end of the day, it's Buddy who's the one that's been guiding it forward and is here to present to you this proposal. Buddy?
Good morning. As Mike said, I'm Buddy Ragland. I'm an architect from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I've been working with Mike now for a few months on several initiatives, one of which has been with you guys in mind. And so I have a brief PowerPoint presentation here. I think Katie's going to help me hit the button, and I'm going to.
Mary is just closer. I don't.
Maybe.
Go ahead, Mary.
So, next slide, please.
Oh, I think it was.
Is it on?
Or I can move over there, whatever's more
That's okay. I'll just.
accommodating. So Mike challenged us to come up with an idea that would help y'all in the redevelopment and bringing folks back to Cameron Parish. And as an architect, he challenged us to come up with an idea that would be good for the community, take care of workforce, offer opportunities for other levels of commerce to come back. And so this little presentation I have is called Consider the Possibilities for Cameron Parish. Next slide. Now, I'm kind of preaching to the choir here. Y'all know that y'all are the largest landmass parish in the state. But then that other little map right there to the right, the long-term recovery map, is right out of your webpage, which demonstrates the breadth and depth of the recovery efforts that's before y'all and what a long road that's going to be. And so I'm sure that's just the tip of the iceberg of some of the details of what y'all are facing. Okay, next slide. So these are images down at Holly Beach, another part of y'all's parish. It looked like what's on the right before. It looked like what's on the left more recently after the storms. And the whole idea here is to get back to the future pre-storm and hopefully even better than that. So we're faced with the challenges of what the storms can do and have done. So what do we want to do? We want to get everybody to come back to Cameron. Next slide, please. We want to get everybody to come back to Cameron Parish. So it's a beautiful parish. There's a lot of history and thriving activity down here, and the storms have just hit y'all hard, as you well know. Next slide. So what is kind of the things that Mike and I were thinking about to make a presentation to y'all to see what would need to be done? And we think, you know, the recovery of commerce and business is essential to this. So we need to get our commercial services back. We need to get our residents back. We need some things to do here. We need to support growing industries right across the road. I mean, this LNG thing is overwhelming to y'all as a great asset. But then you also have a whole litany of historic jobs here that have been crushed by the recent last couple of years of storm activity too. So we're trying to think of an idea that will help y'all pull some of this back and recover some of the things that y'all had in a very vital way but are now gone. Next slide, please. So how do we do this? We think examples would be reestablish opportunities for housing. Crawl before you walk. You got to get people to start moving, coming back this way. Have an opportunity for retail that y'all had, but it's almost gone now. Not quite, but almost gone now. Create a destination. You have the historic trail that comes right through Cameron Parish. Maybe this development we're going to show you in a second would create some opportunities as a stopping point along the way. Try something new and build to last. Obviously, storms are going to come again, and so building to last is an important idea. but then trying something new, maybe that's never happened before, to see if that will work or even help the opportunity that, to bring some of these opportunities back to the parish. Next slide, please. So obviously, you know, here's the waterway, the Calcasieu waterway. The image on the right is kind of the you know, your community along the waterway there, and you're very driven by water and the coast and the storms and the water. I mean, that's an anchor to what we do here. So in our mind, we were trying to help recreate what the community has lost by being what we consider the heart of the parish, which is your larger commercial area. Next slide, please. So what are the ideas that make things tick down here from my perspective outside looking in? Obviously, the marine industry is always a big storm giver to here. You have just an explosive opportunity for industry that's upon you every day and growing. The seafood industry has always been really big here and can and should still thrive. Down on the bottom, you have history. I mean, the courthouse next door, the lighthouse with the ship channel. You have the nature trail that comes through the area. You have the people here. So you have a great deep-seated rooting of people and history here. And you also have the anchor of marine industry, new industry, and the seafood industry. And the part in the middle is what you don't have, or have lost, I should say. Retail opportunities for the people that are here and hopefully would come back. Grocery stores, housing, those are the things that would give a jump start to that. So what we're thinking is the project we're talking about, you guys would be a willing participant in kind of seeding these opportunities to come back. Next slide, please. So our idea was to create a housing opportunity and a grocery store opportunity, and we would do that by building a new small harbor anywhere y'all choose on any of the navigable waterways that you have along the way. It could be right across the road here or anywhere along that secondary channel. It could be along the major channel. But the idea was to build a little mini harbor that would support the boating and fishing industry, commercial fishing, and sales of everything that surrounds the commercial fishing industry. And we think that creating that little harbor space would be a must-see attraction unto itself and bring people through here down the nature trail or just to come see what in the world's going on down there, to come see this little new harbor space. And inside the harbor space, we're talking about building an apartment facility that has housing. Now, you guys can decide and expand upon, is it workforce housing? Is it market rate housing? Is it recreational housing? Or it could be some of all of those over time, a housing opportunity. Having an anchor of a grocery store or any kind of hardware / grocery store to bring as a kind of a destination and a focal point of the community, we think that's a strong anchor to help commerce come back and to reintroduce commerce back into the community. And then public amenities that would go with a harbor and retail kinds of outlets and housing. You could start to develop some public amenities that would be kind of an interest and stopping point along the way. Next slide. So how do we do this? Our idea is to take the marine industry that's here and take and build an apartment building on the left you see there, and a grocery store or hardware or any number of retail kind of activities you see on the right, and literally just build that on a stationary jack-up barge platform. So in the normal course of business, like you come here, you have to walk up the steps about 15 or 18 feet to get right where we are for good reason. But in a residential environment and in a commercial environment, that's a physical impediment. I mean, if you're going to the grocery store, who's going to take their 6 bags of groceries and want to go up and down the stairs or ride an elevator or create a car ramp to get up there and drive back down? I mean, the ramp would be all the way back to the bridge. I showed one of those other slides before you got back to the ground. So the idea is to build these things at grade, which is the normal way to do things, set these things in a fixed configuration on a platform, just like a jack-up barge would do, but it stays still, So you just walk right up to your apartment, you just walk right up to the grocery store, you just walk right out to your parking space. And then, next slide, when the trauma comes, you can jack the thing up out of the water to be equal to the elevation of this building. The grocery store can have a generator, so the freezer doesn't go down, the power doesn't go down. The store, and obviously we can build buildings that can take the wind of a high storm. It's the water that crushes everybody. So the idea is we build a building, and this very building made it through the last two storms with basically unfazed. So you would build buildings that could take the wind, but you take the jack-up barge premise and lift the thing out of the water for the days or a week or 10 days or something. But when it comes back down to the ground, you're kind of good to go again, because in the grocery store side and even the residential side, if you wanted to, could be supported by generator, domestic water, black water system to make it self-sufficient, just like they do in the oil platforms. It's a normal thing to be done in this part of the world. It's foreign to a lot of people, but it's normal to be done in this part of the world to have a self-sustaining little environment like that. So the next slide. So after the storm goes, obviously there's debris, obviously there's infrastructure repair to occur, but in a relatively short period of time, these are back in service and good to go again, not to have to be rebuilt over and over again. Now, we're showing you this as kind of an idea as the tip of the iceberg, because now these particular platforms are designed to be 100 feet wide and 150 feet long. That's well within the sweet spot of jack-up barge technology, equipment. And as you know, they have jack-up barges with legs that will stand down 200 feet in the water. I mean, I'm only trying to make it about 15 or 20 feet in the water, right? So we're well within the boundaries of technology, and quite frankly, once you go away from the jack-up legs, I'm kind of back to normal construction. So admittedly, we're paying extra for the legs. Admittedly, we're paying extra for the little alcove that we're parking them. You could dispense with that. We just showed it this way thinking we would want to be tucked away out of a navigable waterway should we be placed in such a way. But you could save some money if the navigable waterway was large enough that you could put this right on the edge of where it is now and not have to build that little alcove of waterway. But either way it's doing it. But the seed we want to plant with you is we think that something like this could be an anchor to bring commerce and housing back to the community. It can also be extended. It could be a school. It could be a hospital. It could be an office building. It could be workforce housing. It could be an ice house. It could be touching for fuel for the shrimp industry. It could, I mean, this premise, you could put anything that y'all are thinking about on the platform. We're just showing you, and by way of example, housing and grocery store, because I think that would be too good. Now, and the housing, like I say, the housing could be rental housing, workforce housing, condo sales for recreational fishermen, for somebody like me to have a condo or a camp down here to come stay there, pull right in there, get my food at the thing, and off fishing I go. So the idea, next slide please. So really, we just wanted to kind of tease y'all a little bit with an idea that we think has some merit, but y'all would be the form givers to kind of initiate that and tell people that want to have housing like that, own housing like that, be a tenant in a grocery store, be a tenant in a retail facility. Our idea is that you guys would see that activity to induce that activity to come back, and then over time, normal course of business and commerce would put it back in play at a market rate value that starts to generate income and traffic, most importantly, traffic for your guys and folks down here. So that's my little quick overview of the idea, and happy to entertain any questions y'all might have.
Thank you, buddy. I just want to mention some things about me. I'm from Vermilion Parish. In my family, over the last 20 or 30 years, we were familiar with the coast, fished, hunt, everything. And my family looked at a camp in Johnson Bayou. a good 20 years ago, and it didn't happen. We didn't buy the camp. But over the years, I'm here to tell you that camp would have been destroyed 3 times had we bought it. And so that was playing in my head constantly. And I think the unique challenges here requires a unique solution. And, you know, we looked at a lot of different alternatives, you know, the Galveston approach. You know, they lifted the city of Galveston 17 feet, built a seawall after the 1900 hurricane. Today, I'm sure you've heard, Texas is looking at kind of a Venetian gate protective system for $27 billion to protect Galveston Bay. When I was a kid, I knew an older man who told me his grandfather took him out into the marsh. This is in Parish. And he said, out in the marsh, not along a bayou, but out in the marsh, was a huge shell elevated platform in the shape of a giant alligator. And so the Attakapaw probably went out there on a seasonal basis to live, to hunt, to fish. And it rose out of the marsh. It must have taken them 1,000 years to collect all that shell and build that platform. And the highway department came in the 1930s and dredged it all out and used it for highway construction. So you're looking at your elevation. You know, I'm aware of the Mennonite construction that took place here after Rita, and how they survived, and how this courthouse, your court complex has survived. And you look at the, you know, back after Katrina and Rita, the state of Louisiana brought in Andres Dewani, this noted national planner, and we had a whole block of meetings with him, and one of the things he asked me, he says, Mike, I don't understand why people down here have this fascination with levees. We don't do that in Florida. We channel, and then the water comes in and the water flows right back out. Well, again, looking at all those alternatives and their cost, the challenge I had for Buddy was, this is unique, but still practiced. I mean, the jack-up barges that they're all over the coastal Gulf Coast is well known and familiar, working engineering and processing complex for the oil and gas industry. And so it's not like you're taking something entirely new. And at the same time, I think it's an opportunity. I just want to conclude by saying we've been very quiet about this because we didn't want to see it in the paper or on TV without you first getting a first shot at it. You can laugh us out of the room, or you can say, proceed with this. I'm here to tell you, if you're comfortable with it, I was going to take this to our board. I take stuff to them every month and say, if Cameron Parish is interested, I say, let's pursue this. I'm going to tell you there's both public and private interest in this. We've done it very discreetly because we had to get, I told Buddy, if this costs twice what it costs to build a shell mound or elevated pilings, I said, it's not going to work. It's not feasible. It has to be comparable, at least comparable. And the answers have come back. We've had special engineers look at it in the industry. Yeah, we do it all the time. And you know, we make reference to the jack-up barges and that these facilities would sit on water so you wouldn't have to get into a land acquisition issue. But you can imagine it doesn't have to be a barge. It could be a platform base. And you just build right on top of it. It jacks up when it's necessary. I told FEMA at one point, because we've had a lot of meetings with FEMA, and I said, you know, is your concept on assisting Cameron Parish for housing mobile homes? Because if you took the last 2 years, is the idea of moving 2,000 mobile homes inland at every threat and then moving them all back? You know, what do you tell people with deep roots in Cameron Parish who want to stay? And how many houses are you going to have destroyed? And then what are you going to have to do to compensate for that? I think, and honestly, I'll be quite frank, when Buddy showed the apartment complex on what I call the jack-up proposal, yeah. In lieu of buying that camp in Johnson Bayou, I would buy a condo. So I'm in the environment, I'm here, I don't have to worry about it. You know, if the storm comes, I know the whole facility is going to be jacked up and protected to some extent. So I reflect on it personally. I just want to tell you, in our research, there is both public and private interest in this proposal. But I'm not offended if you don't like it or don't think it's worthwhile. Our board meets next Thursday. Katie is your representative on the board. And so I told her before the meeting, I said, it's a no-go. You'll probably pull back on it. If you want to go forward, what I would like to do is prepare some funding applications, federal and state local funded applications. I think we can do it without, and when I talk about that, it started out as a multi-purpose facility to accommodate a grocery and some health and some financial institutions and a few other things. To this, there is private interest, and I think it can be done. I wouldn't be here today if I didn't think so. I wouldn't be wasting your time. So I just ask you to give it some serious thought. You don't have to give me an answer today, but maybe by next Thursday, if you think it's okay, we would like to present it on Thursday. Any questions?
Question? Katie,
Yes, sir.
I mean, you're on the board. What's your take on this?
On this project?
Yes.
I really think this is something that it's generational change is what it is. Whether it works or it doesn't work, it's worth trying something new, and they're both right. This is a unique place. We keep doing the same thing and keep getting the same results. And I think it's time to think out of the box. And sometimes we're so pigeonholed here and just go on about our lives that we can't think of trying things in a different way. So when you have someone, we call them outsiders, but they're really just from Beauregard Parish, I think now, they come down here with a whole new objective view on it, and they see value in Cameron Parish. They're not telling us to pick up and move and seek higher ground, retreat. They want us to keep putting roots in. It just might look a little different than it always has, but I absolutely think it's something worth trying. They're not asking for any money right now. They're just asking for support. They want to make sure that if they are pitching an idea and applying for grant funds for Cameron Parish, that they have community buy-in, and that's what they're here asking for today. And if you guys are ready to vote on that, we could do a letter of support. We could put that on the voting agenda today, so when he leaves and meets next week for our board meeting, he has it in writing that Cameron Parish is on board and they want to pursue this idea.
I don't see nothing where it's gonna hurt.
No. I like to see it. I'm born and raised down here, so, and I'm still here. I'm one of the very few that's blessed to still have a house left. And I don't plan on going anywhere, so I'm for it.
I'm all for thinking outside the box. In fact, our box floated away the last time. But the only other question I would have is that I know it's in the idea stage. What would be our part in it if it was to come to fruition?
The scenario that I would present to our board with your approval is that we would make application for federal funds. There's a variety, it's not just one source. So we would look at which would provide the best financial grant to Cameron Parish. As you know, in most grants, there's a match. Well, let's just assume that match is going to be 20%. Buddy can give you probably some costs on what we think this all is. But we would start with the multi-purpose center for sure, and get the commitment for the businesses that would want to go into the facility. Now, what excites me are two things. One, engineers tell us this can work, and two, it's cost competitive to anything else that you want to do. but there's a private sector that's interested in this too. They won't come, or they don't want to come, because they have to put in so much public investment. You would put in the public investment. So the matching funds would be paid by the rentals, they would pay you to lease the space. So we think it's a win-win. They don't put up the risk. The private sector doesn't have to risk the infrastructure. In effect, you're doing that, but you're getting the resources to do that. And we think this will protect the infrastructure, so on insurance purposes, it's going to be treated as an at-grade facility. So again, it's a great, it has great potential. Let me just put it that way.
Move forward?
I'm for it.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll put that as an add-on.
Resolution of support
Or a resolution of support.
for the MCAL project.
We can get it to you after they vote. If they all vote yes, then you'll have a letter of support.
You excite me. I'm excited about this. I'm hopeful. May not be the ultimate answer, but it has a fighting chance. And I think things can be done with this. There's flexibility in its design and its functionality, you know, on water or off water. So we talked, we've had the conversation about the jack-up poles. And I said, you know, so he shows in the illustration, you know, they look kind of attractive. But you can imagine they can be even made more attractive. I think they can be a signature piece that hopefully people are going to want to come down here and see. So it becomes an attraction in and of itself, a unique attraction. So I'm done unless you have some more questions.
No, thank you both. And
Thank you.
they've been working on this for at least a year, maybe longer. They've put a lot of time and effort, and they're not really getting paid for all that extra work. You know, they're just doing this because it's something that they're passionate about. So I'd like to thank them publicly for thinking of us and taking care of Cameron Parish. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we're gonna put that on the vote meeting?
Yes, sir.
All right, good deal. Okay, let's move on to number 4. Casey Tingling, the GOSEP Director, update on HMGP application.
I don't think he's here.
Not here?
He couldn't make it.
Didn't make it? Okay. All right, let's go to number 5, review agendas.
On that review agenda, Mary, if you don't mind, I'd like to put Pat Sewell down for us to consider him to replace Gene Reese on the fire board.
Okay, on the number 7, the update employee classification policy and step amount. Is that bringing it back to like we had it before, like whenever I was in here years ago?
No, sir.
Was people
We're
in
gonna get-
advance, they could move up instead of being stuck where they're at, or?
No, sir, this is actually gonna be updating the step amount. So 7 years ago, when they changed the classification policy, it was giving people somewhere between a 2 and a 3% performance raise. And now with inflation and just, you know, it's been 7 years, it's giving employees less than 1% of a performance raise. So I was gonna ask to increase the step amount by a certain percentage so that each year when the employees are evaluated, their step is actually something that is not a cut and pay. I think right now, they're getting like 30-something cents, which was a lot 7 years ago, but today, that doesn't exactly get them anywhere. So that's what I was gonna ask you guys to do. And we're gonna go through it in the finance meeting. Kayla's gonna present her finances, you know what you can afford, you can't afford, and we'll go through all the different options, have the dollar amounts.
I don't know, I mean, obviously I wasn't here whenever y'all did that, but I was here whenever we changed it to step raises as you were, if you went and took your license to go spray weeds, if you could, well, different things you could do, you pay for what you were worth.
So you're talking about the road crew employees, and so what we did with that, when employees are hired, they hired at step 0. But as they pass tests, so if they go get certified to spray chemicals or purchase chemicals, if they get a CDL, if they do anything extra, then their supervisor can come to the jury and ask to reclass them to a higher paying step. And then, if
So
they.
you can then, you
You
can, you're not,
can.
because I thought that all you could do was 30 cents a year, which is.
No, but it has to be based off of the employee obtaining some sort of certification, maintaining a certification, and doing some extra training.
Right, because if somebody has a CDL and the other one doesn't have a CDL, and they're making the same pay, that's not right.
If you get a CDL, you're gonna get a step at the end of the year, plus your other step if you got a good evaluation. So you'll get 2 steps, or chemicals class.
Right.
We do have that set in place. We perhaps maybe missed last year with a few employees, with everything going on, but we have every intention of making that up this year during evaluation.
Yeah, Jared, I gotta catch Jared.
Okay. Because, I mean, it's back when I got in here 20-something years ago, first time, I mean, you had people who could do a lot of other things, and you had someone that couldn't do anything. They were getting the same pay. And that's when we changed it, said, look, you need to be paid for what you can do, you know?
Yes,
And
sir.
that's when we come up with
Yeah,
classification.
that's in place.
Okay, thank y'all.
Yes, sir.
Item 23, what is that?
Do you want to take that, Mary, or you want me to take it? You can work on what Mr. Curtis on it, Hackberry Fire ordinance change.
So the Hackberry Fire Board does not really, their rules consist of 2 different ordinances and a revised statute. We're trying to get them more in line with our other fire boards to where we know who we're gonna appoint, how long the term is, you know, exactly what they have to do. Because right now, the board members are appointed by the fire board. They're not appointed by y'all. They appoint their own members. So this is gonna go into effect that y'all will appoint the board members. 2 are gonna be firemen. 1 is gonna be, a resident. We're gonna have like an ex officio of the jury on that board also. And then 3, I think it is gonna be past firefighters. They all have to be residents of that district. But it's to put y'all in control of appointing the board members instead of the board appointing the board members.
All right,
And
well,
it's been like that forever.
Is it following with the other boards?
Yes, yes, sir.
What happens if, I don't want to see us put ourselves in a situation where we don't have qualified people for the board. In other words, we're saying we're going to have past firefighters. What happens if we don't have one that wants to be on the board? It's not going to lock us in to have one, is it?
No, it's gonna have options of, you can have this one, you can have this one.
Okay, thank you.
And we have spoken with the board about this, and they're good with it.
Kara, on 29, for Mark for his automotive and mechanic center, y'all have been out there and
Yes, me and Ms. Robin actually met with him on site to see exactly what his plan of action would be for this mechanic shop. And so he does want to install a restroom and provide a maintenance shop within his existing building there now. It's a 30 by 30 shop, and being he's putting the restroom and it's a business public use, and the building is below BFE. So his only way to do this is to apply for this variance, so.
okay, so he's got one, because I actually called him to make sure. He told me I think his dad may be retiring soon and is gonna do.
Yeah, he did state that his father and himself would be pretty much the employees.
They plan on changing oil and fix flats and.
Changing oil, fixing flats, maybe working on heavy equipment, so.
Your court breaks.
Okay. Thank you.
You want?
Whatever happened with, on Jimmy Salvo Road, that little plant, are they still on generator power? Did they ever, because they had purchased, I think some property where that trailer was on? Do they have power, or are they still on generator?
They're still on generator power.
Wow.
I think they brought in their work trailer, while they're working on the facility.
Oh, the trailer house.
Right,
I think they supposedly bought that property from,
yeah.
on the piling and stuff or something. They're supposed to be putting their offices on there.
Mhm. I can check to see, but, I'm not aware of them even calling to get electrical power, so.
Okay.
But I can call and check on it if you'd like.
Yeah, if you don't mind,
Okay.
'cause I mean, the generator, wow, almost 2 years still a generator.
Wow, generator. Huh.
And of course, we have any, while we're talking about generator, we have any update on Jeff Davis or what's going on with,
We were just talking.
I mean, where we at on that? I mean, I was in the store the other day and one of the guy from Grand Engineer kinda got on me like it was me, you know, about still on, their lights going out in Grand Engineer. I think they're on diesel powered generators over there, I believe. I don't think they're as good as these ones, these here that on LNG. And got on me in John's store. I was eating breakfast the other morning over there. I said, hey, call James Doxey or Reggie Murphy. They're the ones with Jeff Davis Electric. Police jury doesn't have anything to do with it.
I heard 2 years,
Another 2 years.
another 2 years.
Another 2 years?
2025 was the last we had kind of heard. Now they're upping it a little bit.
The dang rental cost on that, and the fuel is bound to be,
5 million a month.
how much?
5 million.
5 million a month?
5 million a month.
That's crazy, because what they, what's that, 5 times 12, was that 60? 60 million in 2 years, 120
And
million?
Kayla, what has our bills
And
went
what
up
they
to?
said it was gonna,
The project's about $120 million right now.
and they gonna waste all that in rentals. You know? And that's one thing people, you know, another thing they while we're talking, I might as well say it. They say we sold the parish out to FEMA a long time ago. But how else will we have power down here? There's no way Jeff Davis Electric could afford to put power down here, you know? You know, I have people tell me that all the time over the years I've been in here. Y'all sold us out to FEMA. How else we gonna make it? Who helped puts our schools back up? Our public buildings, you know? So I just wish people would say that. Y'all sold us out, you know? So, for 2 years, wow.
I got a question, doesn't have anything to do with the agenda. I see we're doing some more cleanup in the Creo area. Where are we with private property debris removal? And are we gonna be picking up that trash, or is that gonna be private industry picking that up?
Well,
There's
hey,
different
Kathy
spots.
and them, whatever they cleaned up in Creole, they got shad, thank God they finally did it themselves, because it was a big sore eye there coming in Creole. I just hope we can still help.
And that's not the only place. I saw several places that had piled up some debris, and I just wondered if we're still picking
Oh, no,
it up.
I need to move, that one in front of my house, and John's got his place, there's
Yeah,
different ones
yeah.
that, they never did come back, they were supposed to come back, and they skipped out.
DOT is not coming to collect any debris that is in their right of way. That is the responsibility of the homeowner. And as for private property debris removal, that's Danny and his staff have been working on that to get it approved. Danny, do you have an update, how many structures have been pre-approved so far? Casey's actually the one that's
Yeah,
been.
Casey's actually handling all this. 105 has been submitted to FEMA. and 30 of the 105 are still waiting on approval. There was a lot of hiccups in the process. Some of us with the survivors and applicants putting in, the contractor we had hired to do the service, and FEMA. We had 3 things going on. We're trying to resolve the issues now. We released the duties of the current contractor, and we're picking up another one. That's going to start next week, take over the project, and see if we can get some speed on this project. So
That's another thing whenever these people were telling me all this stuff over the years and here recently in John's store, and I was just talking about this with my wife yesterday about who would pay for all we'd still be a junkyard out here. We'd still be, the whole parish would have nothing but trash everywhere.
exactly.
Because who would pay for that? How long could we,
It
how
was
much money would we have to take out
$30 million.
of? How much was it?
We spent $30 million on debris removal from the parish right away.
So how long would that, we'd be out of a budget and we wouldn't have money. The parish would be bankrupt in a month.
That's right. There's a lot of parishes that didn't have the money and they had to borrow the money and they had financial bind.
You know, so when people say we sell them out, we haven't, but they want their land cleaned up.
Yeah, I know. And when you're waiting on money, you just have to be patient, you know. So to me, it is taking a little bit longer than it should have. I thought we'd be further along than we are in this PPDR. But like I said, we're addressing it now. It's time to get rolling. We got hurricane season coming up.
Yeah.
And we need to get all the deal. I'm kind of disappointed in DOTD. The only way they'll come and remove that debris if there's immediate danger of a flood to the residents. But other than that, they will not send nobody to pick up the trash.
It's hurricane season. There's flood imminent anytime. All the ones that are pushing it to the piles, are they gonna be acceptable in this private property removal?
Well, they did a survey, and pictures was taken of the current demo, property that needs to be demoed and the debris. So if it's added to that, it's gonna be per applicant, they're gonna look at it. So we try to discourage everybody to quit adding to the pile. That's what happened with DOT stuff. They made probably 3 rounds that people continue to put in the ditch. And that's what they said, you know, they asked them to stop and they keep putting in there.
Yeah, I didn't see any in the ditch per se, but I see piles, and I just wanna make sure we can get that. We need to be able to get that for those people,
We're gonna try.
okay?
We're gonna try.
If we need some help, let us know. We can.
You, as a jury, do have other options. If you do not want to wait on FEMA to pre-approve properties and then bid out a contractor to come and only collect those pre-approved properties, you have 2 other options. You can either do your own private property removal program, but you would not submit that to FEMA. You could just bid it out, you could get easement, and you could clean it up and use the general fund dollars for that. Or you could do like the city of Lake Charles is doing, and they're condemning properties and posting notices, and then you send someone out there to clean it if they don't clean it, and then you send the bill for the cleanup to the homeowner. And if they don't pay it, then it gets added in as part of their tax roll. So those are your options if you don't want to wait on FEMA. But if you want to wait on FEMA,
You have to be patient.
I don't wanna take anybody's property. We wanna do whatever we can to help the people. We don't wanna take their property.
And you don't take their property. You don't take their property.
you add it
How would I
to
say
their
this?
tax
If
bill.
we push it to a sheriff's sale or to a deal, it's the same to me as taking it. So we're gonna do our very best not to do it. What we wanna do is make sure we get the trash picked up, and that's
Well, that's what we're trying, and, because of the parish, I don't think could even afford it, you know, so we wanna try to get the dollars that we can, because it's very expensive to collect debris and dispose of it, and y'all know that from the storm. So we have it scattered, because then you have a large area to go from here to there, Hackberry, Johnson, you know what I'm saying? So it could get costly, so let's wait on the dollars to be provided by the government.
let's think outside the box again and figure out something we can do. If we have to do some of it in-house, I'd move to do it in-house, some of it, if we can afford it.
Okay. Well, are you busy Saturday? I'll pick you up.
Holler at me.
He's retired now. He retired, yeah, he retired, Danny. Pick him up.
Careful what you ask for.
What's the status on the FEMA trailers?
Okay, that's, right, when we started, we had 201 people in the housing. Now we're down to 103. The reduced, we had only 26 people appeal the rent, you know, now they're in the rental fee stage. So we had 26 apply for a reduced rate for the $50. 25 got approved, one still pending. That's for Laura. Now Delta, we had 10 that applied for a reduction, and 5 are pending and still under review. Only one on record is that it got reduced, but not to the $50. So out of the 101 still remaining, that only 26 appealed, and we told everybody they need to appeal it. Now, a lot of them are pulling out, they either bought something, they started to build something, they're gone. Now, we have, for the sales of the trailer, they still won't provide a price. 49 are eligible to purchase the mobile homes, and the other 46 declined, and they don't want it. So, not everybody's eligible to buy it. They're not selling the travel trailers in the special flood zone, so that's not up for sale, just the MHUs. And there are 2 travel trailers in the X zone.
How much are they selling them for?
They didn't give a price yet. Headquarters just got the request from GOSEP yesterday. We've been requesting for months now to get a market price, and they still haven't come up with a price. And they still didn't give a definite answer. They're working on the appeals, but they haven't, we'd asked for a waiver to make everybody's rent the same. And they still haven't answered on that, but they're working on the reduction on the appeals, so.
Anything else? You got anything else?
Okay, let's talk about the storm season. All right, y'all seen all that stuff on the internet yesterday? There's a lot of hype. All right, there's no need to panic. This is the time to prepare. Just get, it's time to go over your plans and prepare for anything. A tropical storm, hurricane, you might not have to evacuate, but you might have to stay home, so make sure you got water and make sure your generator is working. Evacuation routes, where you're gonna go. Gas is expensive, so try to save some money if you want to evacuate. Now, my concern, I'm not worried, but I am concerned about the supply chain across the nation. It's getting slim, it's slowing down. You got 30–40% lack of products. So we're trying to get ahead of the game to stock our pile, even on fuel, and commodities. Because by the time, let's say we need it in August or September, these commodities are going to be hard to get. Even though if we put a request for it, we might not be able to get it, not right away. So people need to keep that in mind. If you're going to travel, like I said, gas is already high, and I don't think it's going down anytime soon. Just review your plans. And, the better you prepare yourself, the less hardship you're going to have during the event. That's all it is.
Dan, what's the game plan on it? Do you know with Jeff Davis Electric with all these?
Well, for the generator, they're not made to move out. When it comes down, they will shut it down at the last minute. I said we call it mandatory as the flood's coming. Before the tropical storm force winds hit, they will shut down all the generators down south.
They're just gonna leave them?
Yeah, they're gonna leave them. They're not gonna haul them out. And so that's what they told me. They're gonna just leave them. And it should be okay. So that's the plan. So everybody gotta get ready. Order, get fuel, and travel time, and pick a different place, and just go over your plans. It's gonna be an active season.
The only other thing I got, and I quit, is we got a notice the other day about our flood insurance. Want to go up to like, I don't know what they have.
Up to 18%.
18% every year for what, 4 years, Care Beth? 5?
No, they never did give us a date.
I think it's.
They want like, I think Michelle
Yeah,
showed
you're
the
gonna
other day,
see
ours
an
would be like
increase,
5,000 or
up to
7,000 or
18%. It's up to 18% each renewal. So any new construction being built, secondary homes, they're seeing that's being implemented currently on that type of construction. So if you purchase a home, if it's your secondary, if it's a new construction, you're seeing what your full actuary rate will be. So we're seeing some building plans being pulled because of that issue. So it's a big hit for a lot of people, and they call it a gliding scale. So if you have an existing structure, every renewal, your policy is going to go up until you meet that full actuarial rate. So whatever that actuary rate is, you're going to have to get that information from your insurance agent.
Mine's like 5,000. I think she told me like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5,000–6,000.
And it's going per residence now. They're not classifying in a zone. Just because you're in this certain zone, it's not a flat rate. Each residence a different rate.
Is this something that's being
even
done
X
nationally?
zone.
Yes.
Is there any way for us to see if we're competitive with the rest of the states? Any way to find out if it's, all of the insurance are going up at the same rate, or is it just?
Yes, it is.
All of them.
Yeah, it's nationwide.
It's nationwide.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah, it's a new program, yeah.
we know that, I mean,
Yes.
that you can watch CNN and you don't always get the truth. Now, sometimes you gotta check it out.
I was told, by a FEMA, contact person that since March, they've, 12,000 policies they've lost, over 12,000 since March.
People drop, they can't afford.
Can't afford it. And you got the senators fighting
Is that
for it, 'cause
something-
down southeast Louisiana, they fighting hard because they won't, a lot of people will not go back. They will lose a large population down there.
So what, is our legislation doing anything about this, or?
Yeah, they fighting.
That's all I got. Thank you.
Oh, good guy. Anything else? Katie? Anything?
So we have two add-ons. One is gonna be the letter of support for the MCAL project, and one is gonna be appoint Pat Sewell to replace Mr. Gene Reese on the Ground Lake Fire Board.
Okay. All right, we're gonna have a finance meeting at 12:30. So I guess if that's it for everybody. We'll see y'all back at 12:30. Meeting's adjourned.